My name is Elena. I am 35 years old, and for a long time I believed that if I worked hard and stayed quiet, life would reward me with stability. I was never ambitious in a loud way. I didn't dream of fame or luxury. I only wanted security. A job I could depend on. A routine that felt safe. A life without trouble. I worked in a large consulting firm downtown, one of those glass buildings where people walk fast and rarely look at each other. I was an assistant in the finance department. Not an important position, but a necessary one. I organized reports, managed schedules, double-checked numbers that others didn't have time to review. I didn't earn much, but I was careful. My clothes were simple but always clean. My hair was always tied back. I wanted to disappear into my work, not stand out. Attention made me uncomfortable. My department head was a man named Victor Hale. He was 43, confident, well-spoken, and respected by everyone above him. People said he was strict but fair. He dressed impeccably, never raised his voice, never wasted words. At first, he barely noticed me, and I was grateful for that. Then something changed. It started subtly. Victor began asking me questions that went beyond work. How long had I been with the company? Did I enjoy what I did? Did I ever think about more? His tone was always polite, but his presence lingered. When he stood near my desk, I felt watched. I told myself I was imagining things. One evening, long after most employees had left, Victor stopped by my desk. He praised a report I had prepared, said it was better than what senior analysts produced. He told me talent like mine was often overlooked. People like you, he said, don't ask for what they deserve. That sentence followed me home. A few days later, he asked me to join him for coffee to discuss my future. I hesitated, but saying no to your department head doesn't feel like a real option when you depend on that job. I agreed. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into conversations about life, loneliness, pressure, and responsibility. Victor told me his work consumed him. He said success came with isolation. He said I was different from others at the office. He made me feel seen in a way that felt dangerous but validating. I should have stopped it. I know that now. Instead, I listened. What followed wasn't sudden or dramatic. It was a slow erosion of boundaries. Private messages. Late evenings. Promises spoken softly, never written down. Victor implied things would change for me. A promotion. A better salary. Stability. He never said it directly, and that was part of the trap. When we crossed the line, it didn't feel romantic. It felt confusing. Heavy. I told myself I was being practical. That adults made compromises. That this was how the world worked. The next weeks were unbearable. At work, Victor became distant. Professional to the point of coldness. Our private connection vanished the moment office doors opened. The promises disappeared. When I tried to bring up my role or compensation, he dismissed it. These things take time, he said. Don't complicate it. I felt foolish. Used. The tension grew unbearable. Whispers started. Looks lingered too long. I realized others had noticed something. Eventually, human resources called me in. They asked careful questions. Neutral ones. They already knew something was wrong. I told the truth. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I was tired of carrying someone else's lies. The investigation was quiet but thorough. Messages were reviewed. Timelines confirmed. Victor denied everything at first. Then he couldn't. He was dismissed from the company within weeks. I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. My coworkers didn't see me as honest or brave. They saw me as a problem. As someone who disrupted order. As someone dangerous. I was excluded, ignored, whispered about. Management decided my presence was uncomfortable. 2 months later, my contract was terminated. No ceremony. No apology. I left the building with my belongings in a box and realized how disposable loyalty can be. The months that followed were the hardest of my life. Financial stress. Self-doubt. Shame. I replayed every decision endlessly. I blamed Victor. I blamed myself more. But slowly, something shifted. I found another job. Smaller company. Less impressive title. But my new manager treated me with respect. Conversations stayed professional. My work was valued without conditions. For the first time, I felt safe at work. I rebuilt myself quietly. I stopped believing that job would be the lowest point of my life. I learned it comes from boundaries, the silence of former colleagues, self-respect, the empty mornings with nowhere knowing when to walk away, even if it costs you comfort. But pain has layers. I didn't lose everything, and I was about to discover the next one. I lost an illusion. The first weeks after my dismissal than I ever expected, in a frightening way. If you are listening to this and you feel trapped in a situation that feels wrong but no reason to wake up remember early. This. No job, no spent hours sitting at my kitchen table, worth your dignity. Staring at my phone. You deserve through job listings that all seem to demand confidence I no longer felt. And you deserve a life that does not ask you to disappear faster than I expected. Rent, bills, groceries, everything reminded me how fragile independence can be. At night, my mind refused to rest. I replayed every conversation with Victor. Every smile. Every carefully chosen word. I wondered how many women before me had sat where I sat, believing they were special, believing they were safe. The thought made my stomach turn. One morning, I received a message from an unknown number. It was Victor. He wrote as if nothing had happened. He said he was sorry things ended badly. He said the company had treated him unfairly. He implied that if I had stayed quiet, none of this would have happened. He said we had both made mistakes, and maybe someday I would understand that. I didn't reply. But the message shook me more than I wanted to admit. It reminded me how easily powerful people rewrite stories to protect themselves. In his version, I was no longer a victim or even a participant. I was an inconvenience. A week later, I was contacted by a lawyer representing the company. They wanted a formal statement. Apparently, Victor was threatening legal action, claiming wrongful termination. I was asked to describe everything again. Dates. Messages. Meetings. Every detail. Telling the story out loud a second time felt different. The first time, I had spoken from fear. The second time, I spoke from clarity. I didn't soften anything. I didn't apologize. I didn't take responsibility for choices that were never equal to begin with. I spoke calmly, steadily, like someone describing facts instead of feelings. When I finished, the lawyer nodded and thanked me. I never heard from Victor again. The case didn't go to court. The company settled quietly. Victor disappeared from my life completely. But healing is not instant when the threat is gone. I struggled with trust. With authority. With myself. Every compliment at interviews made me tense. Every question about my previous job felt like a trap. I learned how deeply fear can live inside the body long after danger leaves. There were days I considered giving up. Taking any job. Any condition. Just to stop the anxiety. But something inside me refused. I started therapy. It wasn't easy. Speaking about shame never is. But for the first time, someone listened without judgment. Someone helped me untangle responsibility from guilt. Choice from coercion. Silence from consent. Slowly, I began to see myself differently. I wasn't weak. I wasn't foolish. I wasn't immoral. I was someone who had been pressured by power and punished for telling the truth. That realization didn't erase the pain, but it gave it meaning. Months later, I accepted a position at a mid-sized firm outside the city. Smaller office. Fewer people. Less prestige. But from the first day, the atmosphere felt different. Clear rules. Transparent communication. Respect that didn't come with expectations attached. My new supervisor treated me like a professional, not an opportunity. For the first time in a long while, I breathed easily at work. Sometimes, I still think about the woman I was before all of this happened. The one who believed silence was safety. The one who thought staying invisible meant staying protected. I want to reach back in time and tell her something important. Silence only protects those who abuse it. Speaking the truth cost me comfort. It cost me stability. It cost me a version of life I thought I needed. But it gave me something stronger. My voice. If you are listening to this and you are standing in a situation that feels wrong but complicated, please remember this: power does not make someone right. Authority does not excuse harm. And your dignity is not a bargaining chip. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to tell the truth. And you are allowed to rebuild, even if everything falls apart first.